Cellular transport. Remember that the plasma membrane is called a selectively permeable membrane. This means that only certain particles or molecules are let in and out of the cell. Cells, like the screen that we spoke about earlier, must let things enter and leave. Cells must let in needed materials such as oxygen and food molecules, and in contrast, waste materials must move out of the cells. Oxygen, food molecules, and waste products all must pass through the cell membrane. Substances that can move into and out of a cell do so by one of three methods: diffusion, osmosis, or active transport. Now, diffusion is the main method by which small molecules move across the cell membrane. Diffusion is the process by which molecules move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. This means, for example, if I were to walk into a room and spray a perfume bottle, and you were sitting way in the back of the room, you are now sitting in the area of low concentration, and I am standing in the area of high concentration. If we were to wait a few minutes, eventually you might be able to smell that perfume because the molecules have moved from that area of high concentration to the area of low concentration. When cells can diffuse across membranes without requiring the use of energy, this is called passive transport. When we talk about the diffusion of water across the selectively permeable membrane, then it is called osmosis. Because cells cannot function properly without adequate water, many cellular processes depend on osmosis. Remember that molecules move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. So with osmosis, water molecules move by diffusion also from an area where they are highly concentrated through the cell membrane to an area where they are less concentrated. This water flow through the membrane helps create homeostasis, and homeostasis is the regulation of a cell's internal environment. Remember, the movement of dissolved materials through a cell membrane without using cellular energy is called passive transport. Therefore, if molecules cannot diffuse on their own, then there are special proteins in the plasma membrane which help move materials across it. They are called transport proteins, and when transport proteins help the passive transport materials, the process is called facilitated diffusion. In active transport, a transport protein called a carrier protein helps move particles across the membrane against a force. That force is called a concentration gradient. A concentration gradient develops where there are more molecules on one side of the membrane than the other. And because the transport protein has to work hard against the concentration gradient, energy is needed for the carrier protein to move particles. One active transport process in which a cell takes materials in from its surroundings and then releases the material inside the cell is called endocytosis. During endocytosis, a cell surrounds and takes in materials from its environment. A unicellular organism such as an amoeba will ingest its food by endocytosis. This material does not pass directly through the membrane, and instead it is engulfed and enclosed by a portion of the cell's plasma membrane. Once the particle is engulfed, the cell membrane wraps around the particle and forms a vacuole within the cell. The cell must use energy in this process. Therefore, it's called active transport. Now, exocytosis is the reverse active transport process of endocytosis and is the process of a cell taking material from inside itself and secreting or expelling it from the cell. This is usually waste or other chemicals that the cell no longer needs. Okay, it's time to show what you know.